Welcome back. Last time we talked about audiobooks. I recommended to you one that read like an uplifting light autobiography on a diary entry format. This time around, I will be recommending to you a fantasy action novel. The book is called The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, and it's a story about a man that, has managed to turn himself invisible. A simple concept. Perhaps yet the theme of uncertainty is masterfully conveyed in the story. The Invisible Man is an action-packed science fiction story filled with vivid descriptions and interesting imagery. It is always intriguing to see how movies and books deal with the concept of invisibility, how the creators chose to describe and present that what can't be seen. From articles of clothing moving by themselves in an empty room, to shimmering, transparent skin, to the seemingly bizarre sight of footsteps crunching about in the snow, when nobody seems to be around. This audiobook does great in this regard, presenting invisibility better than most modern movie adaptations, the descriptive language of produced sounds and unseen textures, along with the verbs used to describe unperceived and often abstract movement, works well to keep the threat of the Invisible Man constant, while also keeping the audience guessing at whether he is even present in the scene, and if he is, then what he might be doing at the time. Furthermore, given that this story from the 1897s, and may as well be one of the first to introduce the concept of supernatural invisibility in fiction to a wider audience, I was very surprised by the author's knack for coming up with caveats for this unnatural condition. At times the author would make a smart observation about something concerning full-body invisibility, leaving the audience wondering why more story creators exploring this theme in modern entertainment haven't put more thought and consideration into the problems that are being pointed out. Invisibility is certainly a powerful tool, but not an infallible one, and often it proves as much of a boon as the bane of his existence for the Invisible Man, who is the story's antagonist. One example of this would be how our sight works. Light enters our eyes and hits our retinas, so information about the world can be transmitted into our brains through special cells and finally be decoded into images we can recognize. Well then, how would that work if there is nothing to serve as a sight barrier to filter said light around our eyeballs, when our transparent skull and eyelids do not prevent our eyes from being constantly bombarded by blinding light from all directions? How could one's vision work then? How easy it would be to walk outside in broad daylight at such conditions. And what about resting? How could anybody attempt to rest in this condition unless being submerged in total darkness, when the state of their invisible eyelids would mean even a burning candle can become as blinding as a blazing fire before unprotected eyes? How much of this torture could a man endure before he inevitably becomes unhinged? The author of The Invisible Man takes all those and many more such matters into account and explores them properly throughout the story, keeping consistent track of all the introduced advantages and disadvantages of invisibility, and giving both the antagonist and his foes strengths and weaknesses they can exploit to emerge victorious from the conflict. Do you see now why I've enjoyed the writer's insight and I am recommending this story to you? And that's not even considering the setting where the story takes place in. This is classic old-school fantasy. The Invisible Man does not one day appear in a futuristic city where gunmen are armed with high-tech weapons and heat detection scanners. No, the setting is simpler, yet mesmerizing in its realization. A small rural town in the middle of a chilling winter where bored and uneducated, hard-working folks gather around the fireplace of the local inn to gossip about hearsays and tell tall tales in the dim candle light. Can you imagine the terror the very idea of an invisible man could cause to the superstitious townsfolk, in a time where the news is spread through the word of mouth and the occasional newspaper? And can there truly even be such a thing as an invisible man? May it not be some false rumor, or a ghost, or a devil? The audiobook is shy of 5 hours long. The version I listened to was voiced by Alex Foster, and I was impressed by the quality of his voice acting and the emotional intonation of the scenes put in his narration. You can listen to the story among many other audiobooks for free on the official site of LibriVox, librivox.org. LibriVox is an international group of volunteers that record audiobooks of books that are in the public domain and release those audiobooks to book lovers worldwide for free. More details about LibriVox in the first segment of my previous audiobook recommendation, Living on Half a Dime a Day. Until next time, have an awesome day, and oh, if you happen to listen to The Invisible Man, tell me if you enjoyed the audiobook. See you in the next audiobook recommendation.